Today's story is about a 32-year-old male who's going through one of the biggest struggles of his life. It's a relationship drama, and basically OP's just ranting about every single thing that his girlfriend's saying he's doing wrong. Let's check out just how big of a pickle he's in. We've been having very similar versions of a fight, every 1 to 3 weeks for a very long time. The fight today that precipitated this post was pretty much exactly the same as the ones we've been having for the last few months. And the one where we had a big blow up at each other yesterday. She wants to buy, well, maybe make payments for 12 months to buy, a $15,000 horse and pay upkeep cost of about $12,000 a year. But I'm in my last year of graduate school, and she's recently no longer in graduate school. More on that later. And works part-time at about 20 hours a week, and we are just scraping by, if that. Living expenses on a combined total income right now of about $42,000 a year. She has some one-time funds totaling about $15,000, received as basically inheritance or a nest egg from her parents. But my position has long been that if we get to a point where we demonstrate a stable income that can spend half-ish of our above basic cost income on the horse, that would be a responsible choice. But committing to and buying a horse before that point is deeply irresponsible and a big problem because we don't remotely have the money for that in terms of stable income right now. And spending one-time funds to fund the beginning of the commitment and hoping it works out is also irresponsible. Her anger at me for us not being in a position to do that right now, or for me not being okay with just doing it anyways and hoping all is right, on the verge of ending our relationship, and it's the latest part in the saga of a much deeper problem that I just don't know what to do with or about. Hence why I'm asking for advice about how to proceed. I really do apologize for how long this is going to be, and I appreciate anyone who finishes and has anything at all to say to me, but I could sure use it, so thank you in advance. Some background. She grew up on her parents' decent piece of land in the Midwest and rode horses competitively. She initially went to a university that was below her academic capability. She was valedictorian after all, and which she had some significant problems with. It's a religious university, and that mattered to them, all women, because she could continue to ride competitively for that university. After her freshman year, things weren't working out there, and she transferred to a school further away, hoping she could ride for them. But for complex reasons, that did not actually work out, and she kind of had to give up on that earlier than she wanted. And it was something that brought out a lot of meaning and well-being to her life from a young age. In general, life with and around animals and caring for animals is a huge part of her, and the best candidate for what brings her satisfaction, and how she can spend her life and feel satisfied and engaged. She came to the graduate school wanting to involve animal studies, how we think about and relate to them in our culture, and eventually works her way back to working with animals, educating people on them, and probably working her ways back to their Midwestern roots. However, her graduate school department was rife with crappy internal personal politics that divided things up into factions and totally screwed students over every step of the way. Her advisors sexually harassed her, made her work environment hostile, and leveraged her, the advisor's position as a gatekeeper of professional opportunities, to get girlfriend to do personal work and errands for little or no pay. Girlfriend reported this to the department chair and the Title IX office on campus. The department chair initially said nothing could be done, but girlfriend was eventually led out from under that advisor under pressure from Title IX office. However, department chair immediately installed herself as the new advisor and railroaded girlfriend out of the university entirely, failing her for successive semesters while not engaging with her work at all, and giving her no good faith chance to succeed. A grievance was filed, denied, appealed, denied again, because university is treating department chair's word as more authoritative than dozens of emails submitted as evidence of railroading. There's a more level of internal appeal to the university presidential possible, And the Title IX office is in turmoil for mishandling other stuff on campus, but could in theory continue with her case pending her re-engagement. But she's having a lot of trouble bringing herself back to dealing with either process because of the trauma and because everyone at the university's side has been incredibly crappy through the whole thing, and it seems they just don't give a crap about doing the right thing for the students. Another thing to know, she's been having some mental health struggles for our entire relationship. This did not bother or scare me because I've had some serious mental health issues earlier in my life, and some focused cognitive behavioral therapy did a lot for me to redirect all my very much for the better in my life. And we have all our quote issues and our challenges recognized or not. And that's part of being in a relationship with a real person. She was being treated with prescription medication for depression. She deals with a lot of anxiety and anger issues. Initially, she saw a therapist through school, but she came to feel that there was no progress being made there. And he made comments she felt were inappropriate. Well, I do agree based on what she told me. She's been to 2 more since then, and they haven't worked out. She's currently not seeing anyone for therapy for the last several months. She says at this point, a major issue is finding someone else as our insurance network. Yeah, I get insurance through school and added her as a dependent. She does have somewhat regular 15-minute-ish check-ins monthly or so with a doctor who prescribes medicine. She's presently being treated with that medication under a bipolar type 2 disorder diagnosis. Over the course of the later half of graduation, I've had struggled a lot. I had 2 real pillars of support for the first half in the form of other people, 2 genuinely great friends. Well, one died of cancer while in the middle of school, and the other one moved across the country to live with her boyfriend where he got into school. I've discovered a lot about myself as I have needed not 2 extra 1-year extensions beyond the initial planned time to finish. My first advisor did not work out for entirely professional, no hard feelings approach to the work reason. I was able to change advisors to someone who's statistically much more suited to me when I received the first-year extension. But that did set progress back quite a bit. I've learned that I probably have undiagnosed and untreated adult ADD, or ADHD. I bought a couple of books about it, and it really seems on point for being a big part of the way that I've struggled as to be productive as I want to be and I should be. She started to work at a local horse riding program as a part-time instructor about 1.5 years ago. Before the harassment inquiry about subsequent railroading got really out of hand, she told me she was seeking a once or twice a week couples hours each day gig to get back in touch with horses for the mental health benefit and because she would enjoy it. I was all for it because it seemed a very healthy and worth encouraging so long as it did not overcome the other stuff she had to do in life. But now, having been forced from graduate school, that's now her source of income, and she works there about 20 hours per week, but doesn't make nearly what she should for the level of skill involved. At present, it's only like $20,000 a year. Around the same time when we were both in grad school and in the need of money, we started pet sitting from home. She had 3 dogs when I moved in that got along well with my cat. And using a popular online home-sitting listing service was a good way of getting us some extra money through having people pay us, just to watch their dogs for daycare or longer stays. We eventually became pretty successful at it until one neighbor moved out, and the new neighbors, there are smaller rental houses in our neighborhood, just did not like that we kept dogs. We kept it quiet, only took calm dogs, never left them outside unsupervised. Well, they reported us directly to the city, including our web profile. We had to shut down the web stuff because our city has a blanket ban on caring for animals you don't own for money. We still have a few regular clients we handle under the table, but it doesn't bring in what it used to. It brings in, I don't know, maybe $10,000 a year. I still get small amounts of money from school, worth about $12,000 a year, so fast forward to now and we're starting to face serious financial danger, renting our house in a nice neighborhood, she and her parents insisted on. With only a household income of about $42,000 a year. As I said earlier, she wants to either buy outright or commit to a 12-month payment schedule on a $15,000 horse, which will then cost another $12,000 a year to care for, at minimum. She wants to start all this by using a total of about $15,000. That $15,000 is what she's received from her parents after some property sales intended for savings, and then surely will be in a position to afford stably after that. I would say since about 6 months into the relationship or so, we've always had some verbal fights about some things. At first, they were only once every month or two, and they weren't as bad. At first, they were about some of my bad habits. I'm generally much more messy at home than I should be. Leaving things out in the kitchen, leaving things out at the office or coffee table or the kitchen table, leaving laundry on the floor on my side of the bed. I sort of struggle to see messes the same way everyone else does, especially her, and we've discussed how much it helps her. I try to be better. For a while, she was actually encouraging of me, and it got slowly better, but I still needed to do better. As the relationship went on, they got worse and more frequent. Then a financial squeeze started to set in, and we needed some more income. I have a lot of trouble focusing on enough stuff in one day to work part-time and work on my dissertation. I've taught for my university before, and on teaching days, the teaching kind of consumes me against my will. It's a part of probably having ADHD. We settled on a combination of the dog-sitting at home business, which I struggled with at first, but got much better with. And she went out and sought some sort of part-time teaching stuff. This is before the barn. We fought about the money. She felt it was unfair since she was doing more. I tried to take things off her plate. I offered to completely take over the dog-sitting arrangements. I tried to do so, and I kept us booked full at our maximum capacity. But it quickly was not enough for her, and she chose to take it back over to send even more messages and pictures and blame me for not doing enough. Not sending tons of messages and pictures and being really over the top with things. She had a lot of uncontrollable anxiety about. Even though I had kept customer relationships good and kept us booked at capacity, she blamed me for not doing, quote, my job and never doing enough. I suggested she should look into teaching gigs at another small local university. She accepted the gig and hated it. I offered to grade for her. I offered to write up lesson plans for her and post them online and on the course site. I offered to do everything I could to help her get through the term and take as much work as possible off her plate. She wouldn't let me. She blamed me for making her take the job, where what we had was a calm, reasonable discussion and mutually decided the money was worth it. Then, not long after starting work at the barn, the issues of the horse started to come up. I resisted because we simply could not afford it. We can't even afford the pure upkeep cost of $12,000 a year. Yeah, that's what it costs to board a horse and barn stables. We fought about this then. At the same time, one of our regular dog-sitting clients, a puppy, found itself in need of a new home because the owners could not handle her. Girlfriend begged and begged me to adopt her. We already had the city's legal limit worth of dogs, and one more would be against the code. And we were running a dog-sitting service that was also technically against city rules. Adopting this dog puts the income we needed at further jeopardy. I resisted. I resisted adopting this dog because it would therefore be irresponsible. We fought about it a lot, and I did not ask for this, but she said many times if we adopt the dog, she'd give up on the horse quest. Eventually, I just could not take the fighting anymore, so I relented. We adopted the dog. The dog is a very vocal beagle, and honestly, the most likely thing that's going to make our neighbors mad. Enough to report us to the city and get the business mostly shut down was her noisy barking in our yard. But I do love the dog, and she's part of our family now, and that all ended well. The quest for the horse, well, it resumed by April. So what's on my plate that I'm struggling with is making fast enough progress on the Ph.D. to finish by May, and getting a part-time job to help us out more. I want to do these things, but it's genuinely difficult in life. I want to do these things and I try. I try to sit and focus and do work, but I also feel that the atmosphere of this relationship and this household for the last several months has become a real hindrance. I'll explain more about that and how I think that has a lot to do with my failures to succeed at these two things on my plate when I give a long list of some of what's gone on in the 2 paragraphs time. At this point, she's flat out insisting on making the $27K commitment to the horse by the end of this week. And I'm trying to say that it would be irresponsible of us to make that commitment right now. My position has always been that we should focus on fixing our other problems to make us both more productive and happy, so we can get ourselves the jobs to glue together the income to where this expenditure is responsible. And once we demonstrate that level of income stable with a month of paychecks at that rate, then we can go horse shopping. So, she can pick up a second part-time gig dog walking, and I can get my dissertation under control for a few weeks, and then go get a tutoring gig. Maybe in 2 months or so, we can be in a better position to spend a lot more money once we know where we're at. She says she won't wait that long and is going to do this with or without me. But a lot more than just this concerns me regarding our fights and our relationship. At this point, there's no coherent narrative way to describe all the features I mean, so I'll just list them. Sorry, this is such a mess, but here it goes. We always discuss what I'm doing wrong, or what I'm doing not doing, or what is happening that isn't good and what I need to do to change it. She expresses a lot of frustration with me. She brings up and lists my shortcomings, what I'm doing. She accuses me of being lazy. She says I'm just using her. She says she doesn't trust me. She says that I never deliver because I have problems being productive as I should be, and I don't currently have a part-time job, in addition to trying to finish this dissertation as a full-time student. She says I'm a slob. She says I don't care. She says I should have finished my degree years ago. She says we'll never be okay with it, me, and I just can't finish it. She said before when I asked that yes, she does feel like I'm the one holding her back from life that she wants, and that I've been doing it for 4 years. She said at one point she didn't think I would be a good father, even though she doesn't want children. She says about my struggles and my not big enough steps to try and move forward towards addressing it, that, quote, she's been hearing that for years, and she's pushing me to move on. What push will it finally take to get you to see or do better? She would say things like that to me all the time. I always try to de-escalate and it just doesn't work. I try to ask to talk about this later and she just continues with this fight now. And one of our last fights, as I asked 12 times for her to please stop. The first 6 times I asked were very calm, after which I increasingly felt panic and hurt set in and had less and less control until I was yelling. I've thrown objects in frustration before, which I should not have done, but I asked her to stop and she just keeps going. It's very difficult to listen to. I recognized and apologized for my failures and shortcomings, but we just kept discussing what I'm not doing. She says she isn't doing this and saying all these things to hurt me, but is continuing on with my flaws and shortcomings and her anger about them. Quote, because they are facts, and accuses me of not wanting to deal with the truth. Says it's my fault for being upset like this. She says I don't do enough to get better. I do want to be better. I mentioned trying to make small steps in the right direction, like buying a book about the condition and reading it as a way of working towards accepting more therapy. She says this isn't good enough, yells at me that I need therapy right now. She brings up, over and over again, that I don't keep my words because I've struggled to make progress fast. I think this is undercutting and would rather she support me. In life, I've asked what we try to encourage, even small steps in the right direction, as a way of building momentum to being better and taking bigger steps. She very much struggles with actually being encouraging. She responds to my reporting with good things that I did by suggesting more that I could do. I need to be physically healthier, so I make something to eat healthier than usual. She suggests I take things out to make it even better. I clean the kitchen without discussing it, and while I understand that doesn't deserve a medal, she comments about what wasn't done well enough. I try to explain that I do much better contributing and doing things for us when I feel like I'm in control, and not being tasked to do so is a condition of her. To feel like I have some pride of my ownership of efforts. As soon as the kitchen got messy again, she got angry about it and admitted that she was, quote, waiting for me to do it. Just kept checking in on me to see if I've done it yet. The kind of thing happens a lot, and it makes me feel like a child or someone living with his boss, who sets tasks and timetables, not a loving and supportive partner. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. So this is an intense story. This relationship is rockier than the Rocky Mountains. Guys, I don't know what's about to happen, but there's a couple updates for this. I hope you're having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's jump into update number 1 and see what's going down. Well, she has more or less mocked me for accepting financial help from my parents while in grad school, and says she thinks it's a very big problem and makes her worried about my character that I would accept help. Despite this, she's now actively reaching out to her parents for help as a strategy for securing the horse. She often brings up the year she did some part-time teaching. We started dog sitting, and I tried to help out with both, but she did not let me. She says I did not do enough. At the time, I fully intended to finish my degree that year, so I said things will be better soon after that year. I did not finish, and in fight, she brings it up all the time. Says this is unfair. A big reason she gives for wanting to do the horse commitment now is this unfairness that I show. That I said things would be better soon, and I continue to struggle to finish, and she's tired of waiting. So she's just going to do it now with or without me. She says she wants a piece of that pie, where I think the pie she's talking about represents the work she put in for the past while taking on that part-time job, and not letting me help with it or take over. As if my whole struggle with living well and being productive and contributing what I want to and know I should is just a fat con, and she wants in on some of that getting what you want pie, or something like that. We know a neighbor who works for a private tutoring company that pays $38 an hour. She insists that I apply. I'm considering it. She set up a first meeting, then refused to go because of grammatical errors on the webpage, and them being, quote, below her standards. Sometimes we fight, and I feel I need to leave the situation for a bit because I just get overwhelmed with all the negativity about me and my failures, and all the fighting and incredible amount of anger she has. I ask her to stop, and she doesn't. When I do go for a walk, she yells at me for leaving and calls me a quitter. I once said to her I wouldn't leave her or the relationship, and she brings up my exact words that I say to her when I feel I need to leave a fight. When I've mentioned in a fight that maybe I am the problem and should leave and go back to my parents for a bit to give her space, she becomes sarcastic and mocking and calls me a quitter and accuses me of leaving her. Part 3. Well, all of this is very difficult to deal with. She very much does not want to be psychologized or treated like a patient or like there's something wrong with her, especially not from me. And I understand that. I think it's appropriate. I've tried to tell her encouraging treatments or different sorts in the past, but nothing. Not even at home, stuff has stuck. It just simply doesn't work, is what she would say. But I can't make her get treatment. That's why I haven't pushed back about her not seeing someone for real therapy for a while. She keeps demanding couples therapy. I've been somewhat resistant because I just don't think it's the thing we need, but I am less so now. She says to me that she spends every day wishing and hoping I'll make a change and just get shit done. I've struggled with this for years, and trying to shame me and embarrass me into it, we just start a fight. In the same way, I find myself wishing almost every day that she'll somehow find her way back to the real treatment. The real treatment that works. There's a period where the prescribing doctor put her on lithium, of all things, and it actually seemed to be working. She was noticeably less prone to those tremendous fits of anger or anxiety. Things were level-headed, and we could be encouraging and positive and start building the momentum of our loving relationship back up. But the doctor had warned her about side effects of feeling ill beforehand, and from the very first night she took it, she complained of these effects. I tried to encourage her to keep going, but she gave up on the lithium because she said it made her feel ill. But it seems to be the only thing that moved the needle in the right direction. I wish I could give her to go back on lithium and find another way to address the side effects. If I try to bring her anger and anxiety and general mental health struggles up into these fights, she accuses me of either psychologicalizing her or gaslighting her, and refuses to hear it. But she does misremember things. She doesn't remember that we discussed things calmly and reached an agreement, and it was settled. She doesn't remember when I offer or try to help out. Sometimes when we fight, she brings up that her friends think that she should leave me, or her parents don't like me. But I don't trust her to be a reliable narrator with her friends' parents or doctors. It's not that I think she's intentionally misleading these people, but I've seen many instances where she describes or remembers things in the worst possible ways that just don't match what happened. She doesn't see this, so how do I even start to address that? Sometimes, after the worst fights, all I can do is lie in bed. She'll either come home from work or come back from being in the front of the house to check on me. Well, that part feels good. Like a genuine concern, but then she'll say something like, "Hey, I know I have my issues, but I've gone to therapy and I go out to work. So you just need to do X, Y, and Z to fix your problems and disagreements." Again, guys, she hasn't been to therapy in literally months. She seems to go through life with very stark lenses that make everything very extreme, and which handles everything through either anger or anxiety. When she gets home, I ask about work. It's always that the kids were awful, or the parents were dumb butts, or she hates this or that person driving home and whatnot, and it's like that all the time. And I mean it, literally all the time. Watching TV, everything's awful, everybody sucks. Thinking about our day, any day, it's just anxiety-ridden about what needs to be done today, even if it's an Amazon return we have 10 days left on. On and on, it's just all anger, anxiety, all melted into one. I've actually stopped to prompt her to tell me something good, for once about her day at work, something positive that's happened. That worked one time. If I bring this up, she just yells that nothing's positive or that she has absolutely no reason to be positive about anything in her life. That doesn't make me feel great. At this point, she's so consumed in this world that I've reminded her to eat and cook her meals, or she just doesn't eat. Outside of the horse barn, she can handle doing things on her laptop in short bursts, and then has to go back to sleep. She typically naps a few hours each day between obligations. All of this just takes a really big toll on me, man. It's hard. She says she can't trust me to do what I say because I haven't just done the things yet, and trust is earned, not given. But I feel like I need to feel loved and trusted and safe with my partner, to be in a place to go tackle those things, and a lot of time, she seems to feel she can embarrass and shame and scare me into big changes, but it doesn't work. The whole atmosphere, I feel like, really just holds me back from succeeding. I feel constantly afraid of the next fight, of the next 2 hours spent listing my faults to me and explaining why they/me are the problem, while I ask over and over for her to please stop and talk about what positive changes we could make. It's important for me to say clearly I'm not blameless here. I need to do more. I need to be better, both for her and for me and for us. I know that, and I want it to happen. I want to be successful. I don't want to feel like a failure and a duck-up. I need to get my things together. I want her to be happy. I genuinely am on her side. I want her to have a horse and happy in life. I want her and I want us to have that kind of life where that makes sense. But I don't think it makes sense right now. Without the increased income being demonstrated and stable before we make a commitment like that, I know I need to be better and work my way towards making more income for us. I know I need to address my own challenges here to make the most of myself for the rest of my life. For my benefit and for hers. Part 4, final update. I feel like I really struggle in this atmosphere. I feel like the fighting and the tone of it really holds me down. I feel like I'm struggling like hell to finish my degree and to get it together enough to go find a job that works for me. But I don't even know. Is that normal? Is it normal for this kind of atmosphere in the relationship to be such a problem for me in my work? Should I just, quote, man up and do better and that's all there is to it? I feel so deflated and scared and incapable of anything right now. I feel worthless and ashamed. I don't know what I should feel or do. I feel like I need positivity and encouragement. I've said to her literally well over 1,000 times now how much I need positivity and how always revisiting the facts of my shortcomings, even if she doesn't intend to upset me, keeps me down. How positivity means real encouragement even when I struggle. Not checking in with me to see what I have or haven't done. Talking about what I haven't done that I know I need to do feels as bad as being very critical right now. I know what I need to do. I need to feel loved and supportive and welcomed, and it's like going to be okay no matter what. I say this to her and she just gets mad at me. Insists I'm criticizing her because she's not, quote, exactly saying the right things 100% of the time. And insists she's being maximally fully supportive because she brings in more money than we need, than I do. That's her whole paradigm of support, financial. And I've been drowning in a lack of real emotional support for a long time. I want someone who's willing to support my grad school mission and struggles. I want to have a home with someone I can be happy and relaxed with, not overwhelmed with, loathing and fear. I feel like I'm suffocating in this standoff over the horse. She talks about the horse like it's oxygen. I know it's important to her, but she now says it's important enough that she's not going to wait anymore? With or without me? That feels like choosing this horse desires right now over us securing our future, and working on us and me finishing my degree. Ever since she was wrongly kicked out, there seems to be a lot of just under the surface anger about me even continuing the degree. It certainly doesn't feel that she values me completing it much. She seems to think that I'm getting a job to support us through the horse cost is at least as important. How am I supposed to marry this woman? Which I've had long felt was the eventful plan. I gave in on the puppy when I knew that was irresponsible. If I gave in on this too, what kind of way is that to start a marriage partner? How can I commit to her for life knowing that she would rather run over my deep and reasonable concerns because she has these deep desires? How can I ask her to marry me if we don't fix the real problem at the root of the fighting? So we keep fighting, and things like that. I've been holding her back for years, bouncing all through my head. I feel that I'm being blamed for my challenges and struggles that I didn't choose to have. That's why I cry when we fight. Ultimately, I think my girlfriend has been through a ton of trauma lately. I think she has attached herself to this horse right now as a fix. I think she's desperate for some fix given all she's been through and given all the anger she has bottled up inside. And I understand that. I think she needs support and help, but I increasingly think it is help I cannot give. I think it's wrong for me to just shelve my concerns with such a big financial commitment, and for finishing my degree if I do have to work enough to make up such a large gap and let this go on. I think if she's going to be in a relationship with me and love me, I deserve to be included in the decision, and my feelings deserve to matter. Right now, she's telling me that they do matter, but she's doing this anyways, which to me means they don't. I don't want to leave her, but when she needs the help so much, but how in the heck am I supposed to continue in this relationship? Well, anyways, thank you guys so much to literally anyone that made it this far. You're an awesome human being. Okay guys, so I'm going to read you a comment that came after the original post that was before update 2, 3, and 4. Here it is. Stop. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop writing, oh my goodness gracious me. The first part alone sent up enough red flags to make me think this relationship's an utter dumpster fire that's going to lead you both to utter ruin. Aside from the fact that your girlfriend seems to be completely unable to finish anything, and always claims that it's someone else's fault, she can't commit to her studies, job, life plan, whatever else you mentioned. What are you getting out of this relationship? But it seems like you're letting her mental illness keep you in this relationship, and you're using it to justify her crappy behavior towards you and her attitude to accomplish anything. She can't even keep a full-time job. You two are already breaking city laws. You're breaking rules of your lease. You've basically no savings or financial safety net. No plans for the future that you agree on as a couple. And she wants to spend $15,000 plus $12,000 a year on a horse. Surely there's a middle ground for the horse thing. Riding classes, or loaning another person for a few hours a week. You can't be tied down by such an expensive and high-maintenance animal. I don't think you're getting anything out of this relationship, and I think you should dip. Run away ASAP. Run away like Forrest Gump. Get out of there. Just go.